Welcome to episode 9 of Monty's Ironsides, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to apply decals. Now, decals are great for adding character to your vehicles, and the great thing is you don't even need to have a brilliant freehand skill in order to do so. A lot of kits these days come with transfer sheets that you can use on your tanks, and if you do a little bit of research into how those markings were used and how to place them, you can add some real interesting character and background to your vehicles as well. And also, if you've got quite a few tanks of the same, you can put different markings on them, and it's easy to identify which one is which on the battlefield. Now in this video I'm going to be showing you how I apply decals to my miniatures. People have different ways of doing it, but on my way I use the Army Painter's anti-shine fixture instead of a decal fixer. So let's take a look at the tools you'll need to apply decals. For this tutorial you will need the following items. First of all, you'll need to get yourself a hobby knife or a scalpel, a couple of paintbrushes, a small tray with some water in, like this little pot that I've got here, a miniature to apply the decal to, the decals themselves, and then a fixer. Now for this I'm using the War Paint's anti-shine paint, however you could also use an actual decal fixer for this. Now the first thing we need to do is to actually remove the decal from the sheet, and for this I'll be using my scalper here. You want to be extremely careful for this. You want to hold down the actual sheet and using the scalpel just very carefully cut around the transfers like so. I'm just going to be cutting along here so I can remove it quite easily. You could use a ruler for this, I'm using it freehand however. And then once you've scoured the lines roughly, you can go over them again just to make sure they're a little bit, you actually cut through the paper. So once you've removed the decal from the sheet, you want to pick it up with a wet brush and just place it inside the water that you've actually in your tray. Just let it submerge slightly as well. These ones are quite small, so it'd be quite difficult to actually get it submerged completely. Just chasing it around here. So I've just got it submerged there, and just let it soak for roughly 30 seconds. So once the decal has been soaked for a sufficient amount of time, the next step is to remove it from the water, and I'm doing so here with one of my brushes. And the next, we're going to be lining up roughly in line with the arm that we actually want to place it on, and using our second brush here, which has still got a little bit of water on, but not quite as much. I'm just going to be placing it on, and then we're going to be using both of these brushes just to tease the decal off the surface. You can just see it lifting off there. I'm just going to push the paper down just so we get the decal lined up properly. And it's just a very, very careful work. There, so once we remove the paper, it becomes a lot more easily. We can just move this using our wet brush still. Make sure you use a wet brush as you don't want to pull decal and damage it. As you can see here, it's nearly in position. Just move it further down the arm slightly, like so. Once the decal is in place, one of the things I would recommend doing is taking a slightly drier brush, not completely dry, but a little bit drier than the ones we've been using previously, and just brush over the surface and just push out the water that may have got trapped underneath. It's not such a problem for these smaller ones, but if you're using larger decals, you may find that water can bubble underneath and just soaks it down, creates a better seal against the miniature. So I've allowed the water to dry on the decal here, and you can see it's affixed to the actual arm. Now the only trouble is at the moment it's quite shiny, and if I was to rub it with my finger, it actually could be moved or actually rubbed off. So we want to protect it a little bit more. So you can actually get proper decal fixers for this job. However, I found that the Army Painter's anti-shine paint just does as good a job. It fixes it in place, protects it, and also removes the shininess that you can just about see there. So I've got a small amount on my brush here. I'm just going to be brushing this over the top of the decal. Like I said, make sure this is thoroughly dry, as you don't want to be moving the decal around as you apply this. And then once this dries, it should leave a matte finish, and the decal will be fixed in place. And here we have the completed decal. As you can see, it's lost most of its shine. The anti-shine paint has dried, so it's a lot more protected now. I can run my finger over there, and it's not going to be moving it or damaging the actual decal. So now that I've shown you how to apply your decals, let's zoom out and get an overall summary for this video. So that is how to apply decals to your bolt action infantry. Now whilst I've used an infantryman in this tutorial, you could apply the exact same techniques to any vehicles. You just have to remember to make sure you remove all of the air bubbles or water bubbles that you get pooling underneath the decals, especially when you're using larger ones. Now whilst I've used bolt action miniatures in this video, you can actually apply them to Warhammer 40k miniatures as well, because the techniques are identical. Now if you're enjoying this bolt action Monty's Ironsides video series, do let me know in the comments below, and if there's anything you would like to see me cover in future videos in this series, do let me know. And also subscribe to be kept up to date with all of my latest videos. So until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.